Hi, I'm Sagi Chaviv. Thank you for joining me for this course. I grew up in Israel on a kibbutz, that's a small farm. And actually, for us, there was nothing owned. The clothes I was wearing wasn't mine. I didn't choose what food to eat, and nobody had their own money. It's kind of a commune where everybody shares everything. So there were some nice things about it, but if your dreams are to go to New York City, that's not the easiest thing because how do you get started? And I was always dreaming about going to New York. I thought maybe I'll be a flight attendant, but that didn't work out for me. I wasn't accepted to the airline. So I had to think about a way to get to New York. One day I just got on a plane after I finished the military service. And my dream was to go to this Cooper Union. That's a free school, and that's the only thing I could really afford. So I got on a plane and I arrived in New York in the middle of the night, and I went and I stayed at this hostel that offered free pizza and beers on Wednesday because I didn't have much money to eat. And I stayed there and I worked on the home test for Cooper Union. And somehow I always believed in my talent because my parents always said, Sagi is so talented. And that's kind of a nice thing to have parents that believe in you. So when I did the home test for Cooper Union, I fully expected to be accepted, but I wasn't. And they totally rejected me. And I got this tiny little letter in the mail that said, thank you so much for your interest, but unfortunately, we cannot offer you admission. And then I was like, wow, what am I going to do? I'm now in New York with nothing to do. My dream has been shattered. So I went and I studied acting just because I needed a student visa to stay in New York. Otherwise, they would have kicked me out. So I studied acting because, I don't know, I think I always dreamt maybe that, I want to be on TV or something like that. So I studied acting for a year, and I studied at a place called Lee Strasberg Institute. They have this unbelievable way of thinking about acting, which is, it's called the method. And the idea is that there is no acting involved. You really have to just be yourself in front of the camera or on the stage, and people, the audience or people in front of the TV will just get it. They will get it if you just live the experience that the character is living through. But that means you have to be very open and vulnerable on stage and in front of the camera. And I very quickly realized that I was not good at it at all. So that was another dream shattered, and I waited tables for a while. And then I was like, okay, now maybe I should try again for Cooper Union. And I did apply again. And this time I got a big envelope in the mail. And at that moment, I kind of realized that if I got into this school, maybe that's what I'm meant to do with my life. I went to Cooper Union, and when I was studying there, I came across this book, TM, Trademarks Designed by Chamayev and Geismar. And in it, there are all these logos, and there are all these bold, crisp shapes. And I was mesmerized by all these primary colors and the focused marks, the simplicity, and the fact that they're so reductive and that each one is about something. And I also couldn't believe that all these logos were done by one company. So it kind of became my dream to work for this company, even though I couldn't pronounce the name at the time because it's so complicated, Chamayev and Geismar. But I was like, wow, that's the place I want to be. And suddenly, one of their partners came to teach at the university. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go and try to get a job with him. And he walked into the class, in the first class, and he said, before anybody talks to me, I just want to let you know we're not hiring anybody. In fact, we're firing people right now. We're not offering any jobs. And I was like, another dream shattered right there. And at the end of the year, he actually had an idea to look at people's portfolios, and somehow he invited me to show my portfolio at the company. And I went and I showed my portfolio and I was so excited, but then I never got a call back. And when I graduated, this artist named Laurie Anderson gave a commencement speech to all the graduates. And at the end of the speech, she said, I have one word of advice for you. Don't wait to be asked. And that sentiment really stuck with me. Sometimes you have things in your life that you hear and then they just stay with you. And that thing that she said really stayed with me. And I was thinking, you don't have to wait until people recognize your talent, until people recognize how great you are and put you on a pedestal and invite you to do all kinds of things. Sometimes you can be a little bold and push yourself in and knock on the door, push the door open, walk in, and be confident. So I started bombarding this partner from the company with emails, asking to come in, begging, give me part-time, I'll work for free. And after 2 months, he said yes. And he let me in for 3 days a week with no pay. But I was just so excited. I was so happy. I was so honored to just be let in through the door. I felt like I walked into the Mount Olympus. And I was so excited to just be there, to just, be around those people that did all these famous logos. And I was so excited that I started working on this personal project at home at night after work. I took all these logos from this book. Many of them are very well known. Chase Bank, Screen Gems, Mobil Oil. And I started animating them because I took a course in motion graphics at Cooper Union. And I animated maybe 15 of them. And then I brought it to the office and I showed Tom Geismar. And he was looking at it and was like, that's not bad. Why don't you add this logo and this logo, this logo and this logo and this logo? And it ended up being this 10-minute piece. And they named it Logomotion. And then they sent it to Japan for some design competition. And it won. And suddenly they said to me, do you want to go to Japan to receive the award? And I was like, wow, I've never been on an airplane except when I came to New York. So I went to Japan and I came back, and suddenly it changed a little bit the dynamic. They started paying me. And that was amazing that they paid me for working for them. And from then on, I was taken seriously in the office. And it was all due to a project that I did for myself. And I think that if I can just offer a word of advice, is be persistent. Don't give up. If you don't take no for an answer, if you keep at it, and if you prove yourself, you will get wherever you want to get. For the past 15 years, I've worked with Tom Geismar and Ivan Shemaev. Next, I will talk about their influence on me and my work.